hi. All right, we're gonna get packed up. Say happy Easter. I'm in desperate need of a haircut. Decided to have a mustache for this video. I might regret that later. Does it feel like every single day is just one big blur? That's how it feels to me. I've like lost track of what day of the week it is so many times. I'm like, wait, what day is it? I have no concept of time most of the time. Every day just feels kind of like Saturday. Every day feels like the weekend because the kids are home. Tia's not going to school. As I was thinking about just like the idea of Saturday and every day feeling like Saturday, I was trying to kind of find ways to relate that this weekend to Easter because we just celebrated Easter. And I kind of just started thinking about and wondering, you know, what was the Saturday before Easter like for the followers of Jesus? Just think about the week. If you look at the Passion Week, we have like the triumphal entry where Jesus comes into Jerusalem on this donkey and people are waving their palm branches. People are praising Jesus. And you have to imagine the disciples are kind of like nudging each other like, look, everybody likes him and he's going to be the king and he's going to overthrow the Roman government. We're going to be able to live the way that we want and we're going to be rich. We're going to be like, we're going to be the king's best friends and things are going to be so awesome. And you know, that was their expectations. Like they were kind of rising. And then Jesus goes into the temple and in this like righteous anger he starts flipping these tables. They're selling things in the temple courtyard to tell people like, if you want to be close to God you have to buy this sacrifice and you have to sacrifice it and then God will bless you. And Jesus is flipping stuff over because he's like, that's not how this system works. I mean, I'm sure that there's kind of like some nervousness in the disciples, but on the flip side of that they might actually be like, this is cool, like Jesus is showing us this, like I'm taking over, like I'm going to be the new king and I'm going to change the administration. And they're probably like getting more and more pumped. But as the week goes on, they start realizing that that's not exactly what Jesus was saying. In fact, Jesus wasn't here to establish this earthly kingdom. He was here to die. And you have to imagine that that's probably very disappointing to all these men that were expecting a king that was going to overthrow a government that was oppressing them. We get through the week and it's Friday night and Judas has betrayed Jesus and Jesus is handed over to the authorities. He's persecuted, he's beaten, he's spit on, he's finally crucified and dies. And just think, put yourself in the sandals of the apostles here. The guy that you just gave 3 years of your life to, the guy that you called teacher or rabbi, the guy that you were so certain is the Son of God, is dead. I can't imagine, like, I mean, it's easy for us with retrospect to be like, oh, you stupid disciples, but no, like, that's terrifying, right? Like everything that you thought about this man was kind of shaken to a point that's uncomfortable. Traditionally, this day, this Saturday, during the time that Jesus was dead, is supposed to be the Sabbath. It's supposed to be the day that's literally regulated of a day of rest. You're supposed to take it easy. You're supposed to enjoy the presence of God. You're supposed to not work. And can you imagine trying to do that during this season? Everything has been flipped on its head. Obviously, then Easter happens and we see the risen Christ and the perspectives are once again changed and they realize, oh, like we were wrong. Like all of our expectations that we had about who Jesus was supposed to be, you know, we thought he was setting up this earthly kingdom, but it turns out it was something so much greater and more wonderful than that he came not to overthrow a worldly government, but instead to overthrow the governance of sin over our lives. As a community of believers, in 2020, we are kind of in this Saturday season, right? Where every day just feels like Saturday for one, but also we're in this just waiting game, right? Where we have never, at least this generation of Christians in America, have never experienced this kind of just waiting period where it's like, what's going to happen next? And how do we do church right now? And how do we do life right now? Where so many things that we were expecting to happen have just been obliterated from the schedule or have been postponed. And we're just in the Saturday, right? And what I want to encourage all of us is to take this season and to count our blessings. When it's easier to complain, when it's easier to bicker with our siblings or to talk back to our parents, or if you're like our family, man, we're just having trouble being patient in all of this because we're getting a little stir crazy. I want to encourage you to take this time and say, God, let me just look at how you have blessed me. I really encourage you and challenge you just to write those types of things down because it's good for us to take times to remember that even in this season, God is still sustaining us and blessing us. I want to take a cue from the Apostle Paul who in his lifetime just suffered all kinds of persecution and all kinds of trials. He was in a shipwreck where his whole entire boat was exploded, basically. He was beaten, he was persecuted, he was dealing with all kinds of issues over the course of his ministry. And I just want to encourage you with something that he wrote in 2 Corinthians in chapter 1. There's so many good things in this chapter, but let me just start with verse 3. It says, "Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our troubles." Later on in verse 9, it has this really cool line on the second half where it says, "But this happened," and he's talking about all the issues that he's gone through. He says, "This happened that we might not rely on ourselves, but on God who raises the dead." And I think that really says it all, that in this season, don't rely on yourself, rely on God, trust him to sustain you, to keep you going. And in times when you're frustrated, in times when you're worried, trust that God has us under control, that he's not surprised by this. And I just encourage you, count your blessings and look to Sunday, right? Look to the next season of life that's coming up. I love you guys. A couple announcements really quick. Thursday at 5:30, we are going to have a Zoom conference call. And so we're going to be putting that link on our Facebook group. And so if you're in it, great. If you're not, join it. We'll also be sending it out through text to parents. And if we have your phone number, we will send it to you as well. But please join it. We're going to get together, hang out, talk, pray for each other, and then hopefully play some games. And so 5:30 on Thursday, we will be together on Zoom so that we can see each other's faces. You can see my awful mustache, and it'll be great. It'll be awesome. You can make fun of me to my face. And so anyways, hey, I love you guys. We're praying for you, and we will see you soon. Bye.